a policeman walking down a foggy alley past an ominous door to a junkyard. A teenage girl who knows too much about the past and knows more about science than her science teacher. A mysterious box which hums like it's alive. And an old man who doesn't seem to be telling the whole truth. This is the incredible beginning of the longest running science fiction show in history, Doctor Who. And this is part 1 of my review series of the show as I rewatch it all from the classic series to the current show. I'm hoping to make this series a place to both share my thoughts on the show and, at least while I'm reviewing the classic series, a chance to encourage people to give the original episodes a go. I'll go through the basic plotline, share some thoughts, and bring up any consequential events or references that happen throughout. I previously watched the whole series starting in 2015, although I have forgotten most of it, so it will be a bit new. The first part of this review will be on episode 1 of season 1, An Unearthly Child. Normally, this episode is paired with the following 3 serials, commonly referred to as 10,000 BC, although I consider that a different story entirely, and will be treating it as such. For the first episode of each Doctor, I'll recommend some of my favourite stories, and I highly encourage you to all give them a go if you haven't touched the classic series yet. For the first Doctor, my favourites are the Dalek Invasion of Earth, the Time Meddler, and the War Machines. We start our adventure in Coal Hill School, and are introduced to 2 foundational characters, our first companions of the Doctor, Barbara Wright and Ian Chesterton, played by Jacqueline Hill and William Russell. These 2 arguably were our original protagonists of the show, more so than the Doctor. Barbara is an empathetic and caring history teacher, and Ian the brave and diplomatic science teacher. During this era of the show, Barbara often advocated for peaceful resolutions, helped and cared for the injured, as well as explain what was going on in the historical episodes. Ian, on the other hand, led underdogs, fought battles, and explained some of the science concepts in the future and space episodes. Both these companions shaped the Doctor into the character that we know today in various ways. The 2 teachers begin by discussing their shared problem student, Susan Foreman.
Oh, I had a terrible day. I don't know what to make of it.
Oh, what's the trouble? Can I help?
Oh, it's one of the girls, Susan Foreman.
Susan Foreman? Oh, she your problem too?
She's a mysterious teenager, way too smart for her age, but keeps getting basics wrong and contradicting her teachers. They decide they need to have a talk with her after class. We're then introduced to Susan Foreman, the Doctor's granddaughter, played by Carol Ann Ford. Susan, obviously, is a greatly important character that impacted what Doctor Who has become today. In the beginning, she represented the human aspect of the Doctor. She identified with humanity while an alien, while the Doctor seemed to view them as Time Lords view them, just as an insignificant alien species. Like Ian and Barbara, her qualities shape the Doctor by the time she leaves into the character that we know today. Ian and Barbara decide they need to follow Susan home to meet her grandfather. At the address Susan said was her home, they find a junkyard, the same one we saw at the start of the episode. They explore it and find a mysterious blue box, humming as though it's alive.
Ian, look at this.
What, it's a police box? What on earth's it doing here? Well, these things are usually on the street. Oh, feel it. Feel it, you feel it?
It's a faint vibration.
It's alive.
Ian makes a circle around the box to show the audience it's just a normal-sized police box, something which is repeated many, many more times in the show's history.
Not connected to anything, unless it's through the floor.
Look, I've had enough. Let's go and find a policeman.
Yes, all right.
Then they hear someone else enter, and they hide, only to see an old man who almost enters the box. The man we see here wants nothing to do with them, tells them he has no idea what they're doing here, or that he doesn't know who Susan is.
Excuse me.
What are you doing here?
We're looking for a girl.
We?
Oh, good evening.
What do you want?
One of our pupils, Susan Foreman, came into this yard.
Really? In here? Are you sure?
Yes, we saw her from across the street.
One of their pupils, not the police then.
I beg your pardon?
Why were you spying on her? Who are you?
Our first interaction with the Doctor is totally different to who we recognise today. He's not interested at all in showing people the marvels of the universe. He's not anywhere as antagonistic as some people say he was at this point of the show, but he certainly was not trying to make friends. William Hartnell is our original Doctor, and, maybe unsurprisingly, probably the one who changes the most during his run. He starts out slightly cold, but warms up very quickly in Season 1. After hearing Susan from inside the box, Barbara and Ian force their way inside, and we see our first view into the console room of the TARDIS.
What are you doing out there?
She is in there!
Close the door, please.
Barbara!
What you like? Close the door, Susan.
I've always loved the classic series TARDIS interior. The console is simple compared to the modern series. The doors don't really make sense. And of course,
The round things. I love the round thing.
after some arguing and non-belief,
It's an illusion, it must be.
What is he talking about now?
What are you doing here?
You don't understand, so you find excuses. Illusions, indeed. You say you can't fit an enormous building into one of your smaller sitting rooms.
No.
But you've discovered television, haven't you?
Yes?
Then by showing an enormous building on your television screen, you can do what seemed impossible, couldn't you?
Oh, yes, but I still don't...
Not quite clear, is it? I can see by your face that you're not certain. You don't understand. I knew you wouldn't. Never mind.
the Doctor decides that he can't let Barbara and Ian go, nor can he stay on Earth. Against Susan's complaints, the Doctor starts the TARDIS and effectively kidnaps Barbara and Ian.
No, Grandfather, no!
Let me go. No! Get back to the ship, child. Hold it.
And so begins our over half a century adventure in space and time. I'm going to give An Unearthly Child a 10 out of 10. Not only is this the start of a series, but it's an absolute whopper, with an intriguing mystery with Susan, followed by more questions once we find the TARDIS and the Doctor. The strength of this episode is probably a very, very strong reason why the show succeeded the way it has. Thanks for listening to part 1 of my review. Remember to follow along if you'd like. Comment what you think about this episode. Let me know what else you'd like me to talk about. And I'll see you next time in 10,000 BC.